Good afternoon to you. It's 4:06 now. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up, FBI agent Kyle Seraphin will be with us at 5 o'clock. We'll talk about the latest developments in the so-called pipe bomb saga from January 6, 2021. And Eric Schmidt, the U.S. Senator, is here at 5:30. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. In case you needed more evidence, the left really does think of the government as a religion. Now they want to punish Zynners. Take a listen.
Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is calling for federal action to crack down on a product called Zyn. He says the nicotine pouches pose a danger to teens as they use them as an alternative to e-cigarettes.
Pouch packed with problems, high levels of nicotine. So today I'm delivering a warning to parents because these nicotine pouches seem to lock their sights on young kids, teenagers, and even lower, and then use the social media to hook them.
Senator Schumer is urging the FTC and the FDA to investigate Zyn for concerns relating to marketing and health effects. We reached out to Zyn for comment, but have not yet heard back.
Zyn, of course, brings joy to millions. Chuck Schumer would like to banish it, that audio from CBS 2. Joining us now, an expert on Zyn, Greg Price is here. He's a communications director for the State Freedom Caucus Network and a Cool Mint Zyn Enthusiast. Greg, good to have you with us, sir.
Vince, it is great to be with you today to talk about this very important topic.
Yeah, what is the deal here? Why is Chuck Schumer coming after the last thing that brings you pleasure?
Chuck Schumer is playing with forces that he simply does not understand here. One does not simply take on the entire country of Zimbabwe, Vince, and live to tell the tale. If he is trying to incite a Zynsurrection, which will make January 6th look like a child's tea party. And the founding fathers understood this. They knew this would happen. George Washington famously said, if freedom of Zyn is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led like sheep to the slaughter. They saw this coming. And there's a really good reason they're doing it, in all seriousness. These are the same people who want to make drugs legal. They're fine with fentanyl flowing over the border every single day. And yet they have a problem with nicotine. They constantly are, coming after nicotine. They did this with Juuls a couple years ago. And now they're doing it with Zyn, which doesn't even have the, all the chemicals in vape and cigarettes that's actually bad for you. And, people use Zyn to actually quit smoking and things like that. But there's a reason they're doing it. And the reason is because they're fine with drugs being legal because drugs make you compliant and they make you weak. And the left seeks to create a weak and compliant populace, whereas nicotine is shown to boost cognitive ability and boost testosterone. And they fear a world where men have boosted testosterone and are free to think about all of the great things in life and society.
Yes.
They fear this. They fear men with nicotine, protein, caffeine, and creatine coursing through their veins.
Well, those men ask questions, and that's a very dangerous thing in a society where you're trying to control everyone. So to your point, it's interesting that they constantly push the drugs that deaden you inside, but they try and banish the drugs that enliven you.
Yeah, no, again, when was the last time that Chuck Schumer did a press conference like this to talk about the fentanyl crisis in America? How many, I'm sure he believes in legalizing weed and, the left wants to legalize all these other drugs too. They say that doing it will actually decrease the amount of time people are doing drugs, and yet they constantly want the federal government to crack down on nicotine, which has been shown, again, to boost testosterone and boost cognitive ability. And like you said, it's a question to be asked, and it's because they fear. As I said, they fear this. They fear people with nicotine coursing through their veins asking all of the questions about our society they don't want to ask. As Patrick Henry once said, give me lit pillows or give me death. All of the great philosophers and prophets throughout history have chosen Zyn as their product to think about the world. And they want to take this away from us.
That sounds so correct. I'm not even going to submit it to Facebook for a fact check. That sounds totally right to me. Here's the question that was asked today at the White House on this subject, and you'll notice Coringe sounds open to banning Zyn.
This week, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer called for a crackdown on Zyn nicotine pouches, saying that companies seem to set their sights on young kids, teenagers, and even lower, and use social media to hook them. Does the administration believe there should be a crackdown on Zyn?
That's something for FDA to speak to. I can't speak to that from here. I've not seen that report, so I would refer you to the FDA specifically.
In other words, the White House is very open to it. The FDA works for Biden. Yeah, whatever they decide. In your view, Greg Price, would Zyn make Karine Jean-Pierre a better press secretary?
I don't know if anything can make Karine Jean-Pierre a better press secretary, but I'll say this. You know, if Joe Biden packed a couple of deputies on a daily basis, maybe he would know where to go when his speeches end. Because you pop in a Zyn, you know, the creative juices started flowing,
Sure.
and maybe his words would actually make sense by then. So I think if they really want Joe Biden to win the election, they need to get that guy
Yes.
fixes on a daily basis.
Now, as I understand it, just in terms of the practical benefits of Zyn, you laid out all of the cognitive benefits and the benefits to testosterone and masculinity, all great things. But the effect is, for some people who previously have smoked, they do derive the benefits of this as a smoking cessation technique, don't they?
Well, yeah, I mean, it works the same way that like nicotine patches and nicotine gum do. There's only two ingredients in Zyn. It's nicotine salts, and then it's the stuff that gives it its flavor, whether, you know, it's cool mint or spearmint or cinnamon or smooth or whatever. And yeah, people use this to actually quit smoking. Like, the thing about cigarettes is the nicotine is what makes it addictive, but the stuff that's actually bad for you is all of the chemicals that are found in cigarettes and all of the chemicals in water. It's not the actual nicotine itself.
Right.
And so, yeah, people use this stuff to actually quit cigarettes, which are a lot worse for you than Zyn is. They want the federal government to, you know, they're trying to say, you know, we're going to take this away from you. Go back to your Marlboro.
Yes.
That.
Yeah. And it's also just, you know, once again, is kind of an expression of, boy, don't they have other things that are much more worth their time than banishing whatever little enjoyment Americans have left? I mean, there are a million things that are collapsing, many of them really at the direction of the Democrats. Why are they coming after just, you know, your momentary escape from all of that?
Because, as I said, the left hates this. They hate material things that bring you joy, as you said, and they seek to create a world where everybody is just about as miserable as they are. You know, to go back to our earlier point, they are pushing the government to crack down on nicotine while pushing hard drugs. They want people high, sitting on their couch, waiting for their, you know, Uber Eats of 40 chicken McNuggets to come. They don't want you packing a couple upper deckies on it. They don't want you packing a Cool Mint 6, thinking about the world and understanding that the worldview that they're pushing on you is evil.
I barely understand what you're talking about, but it sounds so cool. It sounds so very cool. The one other piece here, you know, this is not the first time that these Democrats with Joe Biden in office have flirted with trying to banish enjoyment from the masses. They also attempted to do this to black voters in the form of banning menthol cigarettes. They had announced early in the administration that they were going to take menthol cigarettes away from black Americans, but they have decided to delay that until after 2024. What happens in 2024 that makes this timeline so critical?
Well, Joe Biden needs a black vote in order to, it's self-explanatory, but it doesn't even stop at menthol cigarettes. Like they're using the government to not just when it comes to, you know, nicotine. They've cracked down on gas stoves. You know, they've cracked down on light bulbs, on washing machines. Obviously, they're trying to make everybody drive an electric car. You know, air conditioning units. All of these things that bring people, you know, convenience and material comfort. The Biden administration has come after, and you know, for all the things I mentioned, they say it's because of climate change, but you know, really, I just think the left are miserable people who want everyone to be as miserable as they are, and that's why they do this on a daily basis.
Yeah, evangelists for misery, and again, now they're targeting you for your Zyns. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, Greg Price. Really, always good to talk to you, especially on subjects on which you're an expert. That would include Zyn. Thank you very much, Greg.
Thank you, Vince. Great to be with you.
Good to talk to you. Good luck. Good luck with your remaining pouches before Biden gets the rest of them. It's crazy what's going on, and They really are unstoppable. They just keep going. Let's see here. I've got Sam calling in from Alexandria, line 1. Sam, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince. Hope you're doing well. Man, this is so interesting because I thought about it, and I'm like, if we only would have had that back in the day, because when I was a kid, well, not a kid, teenager, late teenager, you know, the good, bad, and the ugly came out, and I wanted to be like Clint Eastwood, so I would get some chaw, and I chewed it up to spit out on people's boots and things like that. That didn't work out because that stuff was nasty.
I bet.
And I tried dip. Yeah, dip didn't work well. And then as I got older, I had the opportunity to go to the U.S. Army Ranger School. And son of a gun, I could not stay awake. And the guys were using tobacco and chaw and dip. And I said, you know what? I got to figure something out. So in the ration packets, they actually had freeze-dried coffee. So I dipped freeze-dried coffee between my cheek and gum. And Lord howdy, that kept me awake, buddy.
For real? So you would just pack the coffee into your lip, and the caffeine you were getting off of it was enough to keep you going.
Straight line, baby. Straight line.
That's amazing. Is that a real story, Sam? You genuinely did that?
I absolutely did it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And yeah, it didn't last long. I did it just long enough to get through the course, and I'm like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm not doing that. Borderline stupid.
Anybody ever look at you like, hey, what do you got there in your lip? What is that? Can I have some? And you're like, yes, freeze dried coffee. Would you like some?
Yeah. Heck no, man. I only got enough for myself. So
yeah, that's you guarded it zealously. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's. I'm right there with Sam. By the way, that's my drug of choice is coffee. I haven't tried sticking it in my lip yet. That's an interesting way to do it to mainline it. I did talk. My doctor did say to me recently, he's like, you have to be drinking a lot of water. I was like, well, I drink a lot of coffee. Does that count? And he said, no, that doesn't count. I'm like, why is that? He said, diuretic. The water just goes through you. If you're drinking a lot of coffee, it's not helping as much as you think. You need to drink regular water and a lot of it. He said, I said, fine, I'll do that. So I'm drinking both water and coffee, a lot of it. That's the Vince Coglianese diet, in case you were wondering. It's just water and coffee all the time. It's 4:19 now. All right, let's take Josh calling in from Mount Vernon. Josh, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show. Hello.
Sir, it's good to talk to you again.
Yes, sir.
Last time I talked to you, this is in story. Last time I talked to you, a couple of years ago, we were talking about inflation, inflation, and the fact that, even the little things, like the little bottles of whiskey were going up 300% in price, right? So I started using Zyn about 6 months ago to help me quit chewing tobacco, and it's helped tremendously. It's good stuff overall, but it's just another thing that they're trying to take away. First, it was the inflation with just basic groceries and basic things that make you happy, like the little bottles of alcohol. Now it's the cans of Zyn. But I'll tell you, your previous caller, Sam, that dipping the coffee is a thing. I've been doing that for a couple of decades. I've been in the military for 21 years, and yes, it is a regular thing. When we are tired in the field, those meals ready to eat that they give us 3 times a day, the little coffee pouches that are in that package, those go straight to the cheek and the teeth.
So a lot of guys would dip their coffee packets. These are packets of instant coffee. They would just jam them right into their gums there.
Correct. Yeah, very similar to the old school Senka. I'm not sure what the brand is in the MREs, but yeah, it's just enough.
How about it?
Put in between your gums and your cheeks and go straight to the bloodstream. You're awake for another handful of hours.
Yeah, I've had those, for those of us who don't spend time in the field, I've had those little packets of you could chew espresso beans or something. You could chew them and eat them, right? I never thought about just cramming them in my lip for a few extra seconds to see if I could, get a little bit more out of them. But that's amazing.
Yeah, and these are just the grounds. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Amazing. All right, Josh. Hey, thanks for that and for your service. I appreciate the call.
You, sir.
Let's see here. Let's more serious issue to get to here. Susan's calling in from Virginia on line 5. Susan, good afternoon. You are on the Vince Coglianese Show. Hello, Susan.
Hi, Vince. Thanks so much for taking my call. I really appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I love your show. Absolutely love your show. And you had mentioned earlier there was a guest. There was a guest who was mentioning being vigilant in elections and the poll watchers and election officers.
Congresswoman Kat Kamek. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And so I guess this past election was my first time being in an election in the as an election officer. It's a long day, but I'm just calling to encourage your listeners that Fairfax County has a significant shortage of Republican election officers. They typically have a lot more Democrats that are willing to do that. I know it's a long day, but we as conservatives do really well about staying informed on issues. But I think this may be our last big hurrah. And get involved in this March election will allow us to get more involved in the November election, which is where the money is. So I just would encourage any registered Virginian voter to get involved with their election process. Fairfax County, you can call them at 703-324-4735, 703-324-4735, or email them at electionofficers@fairfaxcounty.gov. It's also on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So just encourage voters to get involved because it's important.
Yeah, and each county does have these websites where you can sign up to be a poll watcher, an election worker, and boy, that's a good thing to do. And you know what I found out, Susan, is when I go to vote, I'm a Virginia resident. When I go to vote, I do actually usually run into someone who I either know or knows me from the radio station, and they come up to me, they're like, "Hey, I like the show," and I was like, "Well, I like this polling place. I'm already pumped. I'm here to vote. We got good people here, so we need more of those." Susan, that's a great call to action. Thank you for the reminder. It's all the more important. Thank you, Susan. Yeah, that's always fun. You go in there, you think you're surrounded by Democrats and everyone voting to destroy the country. Somebody leans over and they're like, "Hey, I'm on your side." Thank you. You're a great American. All right, hold tight. I've got a lot more ahead for you. Kyle Seraphin is coming up in the next half hour. Eric Schmidt is going to be here, and you at 888-630-9625. Well, good afternoon to you. 435 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. Coming up on the program, we're going to be joined by Kyle Seraphin, a former FBI agent, at 5 o'clock, with a reaction to all of this information coming out about those January 6 pipe bombs, which look a lot like the same training bombs they use at the FBI, and that nobody saw for 17 hours. It was until Kamala Harris was in the building. What happened? A lot of questions. Kyle Seraphin digs in with us. Eric Schmidt is also here at 5:30, U.S. Senator. We'll talk to him about what's going on inside the Senate right now as it relates to a big fight over immigration. And you can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Yeah, there's a war going on among Senate Republicans right now over the terms of potential legislation involving America's southern border. Let me begin with some reporting here from Henry Rogers at the Daily Caller, just out in this past hour. The headline on the piece is Senate Republicans sound off on leaked border deal proposals, say they will absolutely not vote for them. A number of Senate Republicans are extremely concerned with the ongoing border deal negotiations between the White House and GOP leadership, expressing their frustration with the number of leaked proposals that are being considered and saying they would never vote for the bill. In exclusive conversations with the Daily Caller, according to sources engaged in the border bailout, the proposals go beyond past already reported leaks. The current framework under consideration would drastically change immigration law in the U.S. Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, Utah Senator Mike Lee, Texas Senator Ted Cruz all spoke with the Daily Caller about what they have heard about these ongoing negotiations, and they reacted. Here are some of the leaked proposals in the current framework. Ready? Legally establish 5,000 illegal aliens entering the country every day as the new norm. What was it that Jay Johnson said? 1,000 a day was a crisis. The United States federal government, with some agreement apparently between some Republicans and certainly all Democrats, they want to make it 5 crises worth of illegals pouring across the border every day as a matter of law. They require that the crisis hit that number before the president could invoke Title 42-esque authority, effectively forcing Americans to, at a minimum, accept 1.8 million illegal aliens a year. 1.8 million. Whose side are these people on? They don't work for us. They're supposed to, but they're not working to advance our interests. $1.8 million a year? What a deal. Provide amnesty to a documented Dreamer class taking care of 250,000 people whose parents replaced American workers under the deeply flawed H-1B guest worker program. Keep mass parole programs in place, provided that illegal immigrants enter through American airports and not at the border. Oh, that makes it better. Give quicker work permits to illegal aliens, likely committing asylum fraud by ending the 180-day wait period. Expand the already vast network of free benefits like legal services for illegal aliens, adding to the services American taxpayers already fund to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars per year, and then funnel billions of dollars to the corrupt NGOs that profit off of the border crisis by transporting, lodging, and helping illegal aliens enter the country every day. Let me put that differently. The organizations who are trafficking foreign nationals into the United States with your money. So does that sound like a fix? Does that sound like an improvement to our situation? Or does it sound like codifying the chaos? It sounds like the latter. Here's Ted Cruz today in remarks a short while ago commenting on all of this. Take a listen.
The Biden border crisis is an absolute humanitarian disaster, and Democrats don't care. Last year, 853 migrants died crossing illegally into this country. Alejandro Mayorkas didn't even know how many.
Did he say 853? Is that what he said? Died crossing into the country last year. Just back it up a touch.
Last year, 853 migrants died crossing illegally into this country. Alejandro Mayorkas didn't even know how many had died because
nice accent on the name there.
He didn't care. When I brought 19 senators down to the border, we saw a man who had drowned floating in the Rio Grande. Democrats don't care. Last year, thousands upon thousands of children were brutalized and sexually assaulted by human traffickers, and Democrats don't care.
All true.
Last year, thousands of women were sexually assaulted by human traffickers, and Democrats do not give a damn. Last year, more than 100,000 Americans died of drug overdoses from Chinese fentanyl flooding across the southern border, and Democrats do not give a damn. Now, you may say, oh, come on, that's harsh. They care. They care. Somewhere in their hearts, they care about all the people suffering and dying. Baloney. Because if they cared, they would stop it. If you cared about the children being raped at the border, you would say no more.
You wouldn't be cutting open the border barriers right now. You'd be helping Texas build a wall.
When Joe Biden came in, we had the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. He inherited success, and he deliberately broke it. Democrats want these open borders. And this bill, this mysterious bill that is buried down in the basement of Chuck Schumer's office. All of you have a living as reporters. Ask yourself, why have you not read the text of the bill? There's a reason. As bad as we think the bill is, I promise you it's worse. The people pushing this deal knew, no, if the American people knew what was in it, they would be against it. This supplemental bill is a kamikaze plane in a box canyon with no exit, headed for a train wreck. If you look at this bill, the bill is not designed to fix this problem. By the way, the single greatest national security threat to America, this right here. I think the odds of a major terrorist attack in the United States are higher today than they've been any time since September 11th. You know what? In that spike, how many Hamas terrorists are there? How many Hezbollah terrorists are there?
You know, that video that we saw earlier this week of a man crossing the border, confronted by a reporter. Who are you? They didn't really confronted, I should say. He just asked a question. Who are you? Where are you from? He's like, you don't know who I am? He's Middle Eastern. He says, you will know who I am. You will know who I am, he says menacingly. Now, anybody who saw that video, anybody, every single person who's seen that video goes, man, that dude's bad news. The hell's he doing in our country? And if that, let me just change, the person who we're talking about. If that was camera footage of a Trump supporter saying, oh, you're going to know who I am, menacing and quite obviously threatening to do something catastrophic here in the United States, what do you think the FBI would be doing right now? Oh, man, they would have kicked in every door that man has ever walked through. They'd be all over. They'd be combing every last image of this human being until they track him down. They would have his cell phone untangled. They'd have everything on that guy. What happened to this guy who crossed our border and said, you're going to know who I am? You're definitely going to know. You don't know right now? Believe me, you'll know soon enough. Where is the effort to find that guy? Where's there any evidence that they're doing that? I just saw an image of a Border Patrol agent with his head cut open from the last 24 hours because he got hit with a rock in the face. Have you seen this picture, Corey? Going around social media now. They had to censor most of the photo because it was that's how gruesome it was. And Border Patrol agents for years have been subjected to this, but it gets worse when the illegal immigration crisis is out of control. And the cartels believe they can act with impunity, which of course they can, thanks to Biden. And one of the most sincere threats to these Border Patrol agents are foreign nationals literally throwing rocks at their heads as they come in. You can severely wound a human being that way. And these Border Patrol agents getting just absolutely crushed by some of these attacks. And in this case, this guy's got blood just all over his face. I'm sitting here going, do you remember the images from some of the riots in 2020 and certainly on January 6th? You remember January 6th? The non-lethal riot control efforts that were deployed against American citizens. American citizens in a variety of cities for a variety of reasons. Some justified, others not. But weapons directed at American citizens. Tear gas, flashbangs, pepper balls. What is happening on our border? We reserve that treatment for American citizens. Foreign nationals, come right in. Just pour right in en masse, by the millions. Nothing to stop them. No deterrence whatsoever. I saw some buffoon on social media point out that it's not pro-life to put up razor wire on the border. You can't be pro-life and put up razor wire. I'm sorry, what? Oh, so the pro-life position is to allow upwards of 1,000 people a year to die on the border and over 100,000 Americans to die due to the fentanyl crisis and countless women to be raped and sexually abused as they make their way into the country. That's the pro-life position, according to that idiot. Rather than secure the border to prevent all of that chaos to begin with. So as you see all the details of this, I mean, it's, I don't know. Is this all common sense? I think it's common sense. Like normal people view this and they go, there are obvious ways out of this, which is secure the border, enforce the law, repel invasions. But instead, the people in charge are making it worse. And Ted Cruz is raising a stink, and good. By the way, all of these guys should raise holy hell. To the extent that they can do anything. On the part of the House Republicans, they should use the power of the purse to force the federal government into compliance. And on the part of Senate Republicans, who are in the minority at this moment, they should be leaking every damn thing about this. Just expose it to the people. The American people have to know what's going on. There should be a video camera in front of every Border Patrol agent who is cutting through razor wire every single day, whether they want to or not, whether they're following orders or not, whatever is going on down there. People should know it's the Biden administration that's destroying their country. And when I say destroying their country, I mean literally. If you're destroying the borders of a sovereign country, you're destroying what makes it a country. So Ted Cruz, again, to his credit, he's an eloquent man, he's a smart guy, giving us some details today about how horrific this whole negotiation's shaping up. It's not to our benefit, it's to codify chaos.
Terrorist attack in the United States are higher today than they've been any time since September 11th. You know what? In that spike, how many Hamas terrorists are there? How many Hezbollah terrorists are there? And what are we going to say when they carry out an attack here like October 7th in Israel? This bill is not designed to fix the problem. This bill normalizes 5,000 people a day coming in. 5,000 people a day is over 1.8 million a year. That's called an invasion. By the way, under Joe Biden, we've had 9.6 million. So the great Republican compromise is we're for 2/3 of Joe Biden's open borders.
Say it out loud.
We'll let in 6 million instead of 9 million. This makes utterly no sense. And there's a reason. Republican leadership is like Charlie Brown with Lucy and the football. And over again, they run for the football, and over again, Lucy Schumer pulls it away.
You know what, though? He's giving him too much credit. The analogy he's using is that Mitch McConnell is Charlie Brown, just naive. He's just, how can you keep falling for this? He's given, no, Mitch McConnell knows. He knows what he's in for. He just doesn't care. He's got other priorities, not the ones you and I have.
And Republican leadership lands on their ass. They entered this negotiation saying, we will only do what Chuck Schumer will agree to. He doesn't want to fix this. He wants it to continue. So negotiating with Chuck Schumer on securing the border is like putting Hannibal Lecter in charge of a Go Vegan ad campaign. He might dine on your liver with a healthy side of fava beans, but it's not going to remotely do what the objective is. Final point. Not only is this bill utterly ineffective in fixing the problem, but it's designed to fail. The chances of this bill passing the House of Representatives, I can quantify it mathematically. The chances of this bill passing the House are 0.000%.
Well, God, I hope so.
It ain't going to pass. At lunch, we had a vigorous discussion at lunch yesterday. I asked leadership, why on earth would you be teeing up a vote with every Democrat and 10 or 12 Republicans that has no chance of passing the House? It's not going to become law, and I get it. Leadership really, really, really wants Ukraine funding. But that doesn't happen unless you get a bill that can pass the House. The only purpose of taking this up is giving Democrats political cover to say, gosh, we would have secured the border, but those pesky House Republicans didn't let us. It's a good talking point. It's complete baloney, but it's a good talking point. This bill represents Senate Republican leadership waging war on House Republican leadership. It's not designed to secure the border, and it won't secure the border. And that's why leadership wants it kept in secret. They don't want anyone to see the text of it. Republicans in the Senate ought to have the sense and sanity to say, secure the border, or else we're not going to go along with providing fig leaves to cover up the deliberate failure of Joe Biden and the Democrats. They have caused this crisis.
All right, so that's Ted Cruz. Among him, I see in the picture here, I see Rick Scott of Florida and Eric Schmidt as well from Missouri. A programming note for you, Eric Schmidt is joining us coming up in just about half an hour, so stay with us for that. We're going to find out more information on what he has learned about the ongoing so-called negotiation with regard to our border. It's all breaking this afternoon. Eric Schmidt will join us coming up. Let's go to the phones. I've got Dustin calling in from Winchester now on line 7. Dustin, you're on the Vince Colonnese Show, sir.
Hey, Vince. Pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you.
This is the problem with the continuing resolution. Last month, we were expecting Speaker Johnson, to step up and grow a backbone and say, hey, we're not going to pass a continuing resolution unless we get a better border stance. He didn't do it, probably going into Christmas. I can understand you don't want to, ruin everybody's Christmas by not getting a paycheck. But at this point, the only way that the border crisis is going to be solved is to shut the government down. And that's when the emergency funding kicks in. That's when you'll see the Border Patrol probably unravel because they're not going to be able to keep up with all the nonsense with limited funding. And this is what needs to happen at this point. There is no CR, and most of us thought that he was not going to pass a CR, but, we had the rug pulled out from us once again. But the only way to stop Schumer and McConnell's little Pong game, the old school black and white Pong game that they play in the basement, is to shut the government down.
In other words, the government should have to experience a crisis just like the rest of us are.
I mean, hey, let's get real.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all, John. Thank you. Excuse me, Dustin. Thank you. Yeah, we're sick and tired of it. Something's got to be done. We're going to talk to a senator from the state of Missouri, Eric Schmidt, coming up here in the next hour. 5:30, he'll join us. Give us some more details about what he's learning that is happening behind the scenes and what can be done to stop it. We'll ask him about that. Also, Kyle Seraphin is an FBI agent, former FBI agent, is going to join us just minutes from now We have brand new information on those pipe bombs found outside the party headquarters for both Republicans and Democrats on January 6, 2021. Why is the FBI so incurious about where they came from? Kyle Seraphin will explain.